This is Umpire LaFondios with an after-action report for the Fireball Express, a role-playing fictional Kriegsspiel. The Fractured States is set in an alternative 1870s after the United States and Confederate States have failed to conclude the war and both collapsed as nations. North America is now a patchwork of the remaining local governments, small communities, and expeditions of ambitious foreigners. In the Northeast, shown here in red, the Atlantic states after 100 years of independence have rejoined the British Commonwealth. In the South, here in yellow and purple, the Carolinas and Dixie are trying to come together to form a small nation. Complicating the situation, military refugees fleeing the Austro-Prussian War have settled into the Norfolk area in what used to be Virginia. The area west of Norfolk has fallen under Neo-Austrian influence. Mann and Jorgensen's, two players, are trying to build a secure route using an armored train across this territory. The intent is to establish regular rail service and connect the south to the north. The ambitious Austrians can't allow this and back a group of ruffians to attack and rob the train on its inaugural run. These are the players who were defending the train. Cox, played by Great Gold, was the CIC and train commander. He had 3 units under his command. Wolf is his assistant commander, and it was played by Anna Kazan. Wilkins is a VIP from the Carolinas Commune. He had 3 units under his command, and he was played by Michelle 05. Walkmeister was a VIP and also a Confederate of Wilkins, and he was played by Wilgo. Donna Hagawa is a VIP and a Native Confederation chief. He had 3 units under his command. Haygood, played by Designer of War, was part of the 1st Quick Reaction Force with 4 units under his command. And Jorgensen's, the partner in the venture, had 4 units under his command, played by Schwabauer, and he was the commander of Quick Reaction Force number 2. The rascals who were looking to rob the train were 6 IKS players. Sarah Sandoval was the ringleader, played by Desert Fox. She was overall in charge of the operation. Chaplain Croft was the spiritual advisor to Sandoval, played by James. Blunt was a conspirator, played by Latvitas. All 3 of these were actually on the train undercover. Commanding the ground forces were 3 rascals: Doomson, played by Doom, Steyer, played by Scottish Civil War Savage, and The Great, played by Bru 290. They were on the ground and they had 12 Austrian units under their command, loaned to them by the Austrians. The robbery plan was complex in that it had 2 agendas. First of all, the decision was to stop the train at Stony Creek, which was the halfway point between the start of the train's journey and the end. This would slow the Quick Reaction Force's ability to reinforce the train security team. On the train, Sandoval, Blunt, and Kraft were really after the design schematics of the engine because they wanted to actually use that to build a rival train service. So that was their objective. The ground units, commanded by the 3 rascals, were really in it for the gold. They wanted to rob the train and take the loot. The plan was quite simple. The train team was going to stay undercover until the right moment. Then they were going to move to find the schematics for the engine and steal them. The ground team, as you can see from the red arrows on the right, was going to attack the train at every point and basically ambush it by surrounding it. You see here the security plan that Cox came up with. He had the engine in the front, followed immediately by the valuables car, then by his command car. So the trade secrets were in the engine and the gold was in the very first car. 3 train security units were placed in this area. He positioned himself and the 6 remaining units toward the middle and back of the train. The idea was that they would try to defend the entire train until the Quick Reaction Force was able to come forward. However, if you look at this plan, you'll see all the loot is in the front and the majority of the troops are in the back. This will play an important role in the lesson to be learned from this battle. At the start of the scenario, the train stops according to the robbery plan at the midpoint, Stony Creek. The robber player called The Great blows the bridge to keep it from moving forward. In the yellow circles, you can see the forces of the robbing parties surrounding the train. These two images show the action at 10:15. On the left, at the front of the train, you see Wilkins bravely rushing forward to try and secure that area. On the right, Steyer reveals he is not leading just a bunch of run-of-the-mill robbers, but an elite unit of death zouaves, complete in red trousers and their distinctive fezzes. The quick reaction forces under Haygood and Jorgensen's, having not received the all-secure communication, begin moving at high speed toward Stony Creek to provide reinforcements. Wilkins continues to retreat. In the front of the train, the Great begins unloading the valuables car, and Sandoval and Kraft move toward the engine. Doom and Steyer continue their attacks. By 11:15, Steyer has blown up 3 cargo cars at the midpoint of the train. The quick reaction forces have arrived. Sandoval has secured the engine schematics, and the Great has offloaded all the loot. It is a decision point for the robbers. If they stay and try to win the firefight, they will be overwhelmed. If they execute an escape, they might get away with the loot. Let's go to the action cam at this critical moment. Wachtmeister has been hiding in a building since the beginning of the action. Doomson, sensing it's time to leave, begins moving backward in the cars. Wachtmeister sees his chance. Doomson is shot and gravely wounded. By 11:30, Cox and the quick reaction forces have secured the train. Sandoval, Kraft, and Blunt decide to escape and ride hard toward the east. The Great heads east with his wagon train full of loot, and the wounded Doom is transported that way as well by the Austrians. Steyer begins to move west into the woodline. Where you see the yellow arrow, the Austrians have crossed a bridge that brings them back into their own territory. Haygood and Donehagawa have cleared the western side of the train. Donehagawa's native Confederation warriors have distinguished themselves in the battle. In the Kriegsspiel community, we like to say there are no defeats, only lessons learned. In this affair, there were 2 primary lessons to be learned. First, guard your loot. Second, get out quickly once you've stolen someone else's loot. These principles should always be kept in mind when adventuring in these fractured states. Thank you for watching this After Action review. It was a fun game with a lot of laughs. I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. We'll see you out there on the Kriegsspiel board.